Ever heard of a pharaoh who ruled ancient Egypt for over 2 decades, brought immense wealth and stability, and built some of the most stunning monuments in history? What if I told you this pharaoh was a woman? This is the story of Hatshepsut, the king who history tried to erase. Hatshepsut wasn't just any royal lady. She was born into the very heart of power. As the daughter of the great Pharaoh Thutmose I, she grew up in the religious and political center of Egypt, the world of gods and kings. From an early age, she held one of the most influential titles a woman could have, God is wife of Ammon. This wasn't just a fancy name. It gave her immense wealth, authority, and a direct line to the powerful priests at Karnak Temple in Thebes. She was a major player long before she ever wore a crown. Her path to the throne began with a death. When her husband, Thutmose II, died around 1479 BCE, the throne was supposed to go to his young son, Thutmose III, but the new king was just a child, born to a secondary wife. According to Egyptian tradition, Hatshepsut, as the Dowager Queen and God's wife of Ammon, stepped in to rule as regent, guiding the kingdom on the boy's behalf. For the first few years, everything seemed normal. Official monuments showed the young Thutmose III as the king, with Hatshepsut by his side. But then, the historical record takes a dramatic turn. Around the 7th year of Thutmose III's reign, Hatshepsut did something unprecedented. She officially declared herself pharaoh, adopting the full royal titles and powers of a king. This wasn't a violent coup or a sudden grab for power. It was a carefully orchestrated political move, supported by the most influential figures in the kingdom, the high priest of Ammon, the court officials, and the civil administration. She had spent years building her network and proving her capability. To legitimize this bold move, she used the same tools male kings had used for centuries. She commissioned inscriptions at the Grand Karnak Temple that told the story of her divine birth. According to these texts, the god Ammon himself had declared her the rightful ruler of Egypt even before she was born. It was her destiny. She began to appear in official art wearing all the symbols of kingship, the iconic Nenes headdress, the ceremonial false beard, and even using male grammar in her inscriptions. Now, this can be confusing. Was she trying to pretend she was a man? Not at all. Everyone in Egypt knew she was a woman. The male imagery wasn't about her personal identity. It was about the office of the king. In ancient Egypt, kingship was an inherently masculine concept. By adopting its symbols, Hatshepsut was making a clear statement. I am not just the queen regent. I am the occupant of the throne. I am your pharaoh. It was a brilliant way to fit her rule into a system that had no established precedent for a female king. So what kind of ruler was she? Unlike many pharaohs who are famous for their military conquests, Hatshepsut's reign, which lasted about 22 years, was defined by peace, stability, and incredible economic prosperity. She wasn't interested in constant warfare. Instead, she focused her energy inward on strengthening Egypt from the inside out. She launched massive restoration projects, rebuilding temples that had been neglected during earlier periods of instability. She reorganized and expanded trade networks, bringing new wealth into the kingdom. And she masterfully used religion to reinforce her legitimacy as ruler. Her most legendary achievement, however, was a daring trade expedition to the mysterious land of Punt. We're still not exactly sure where Punt was, maybe modern-day Eritrea or Somalia, but to the Egyptians, it was a land of exotic wonders. Hatshepsut didn't just send a few merchants. She dispatched a massive fleet of ships on a journey down the Red Sea. The story of this expedition is carved in vivid detail on the walls of her mortuary temple. These aren't just generic scenes of triumph. They are incredibly precise records. The reliefs showed the ships being loaded, the strange houses of the Puntites, their leader, and the incredible goods they brought back: gold, ivory, ebony, exotic animals, and most precious of all, frankincense and myrrh. The Egyptians loved incense for their temple rituals, and it was fantastically expensive. But Hatshepsut went a step further. Her expedition brought back living myrrh trees, which were then transplanted into the temple gardens at Thebes. Imagine seeing these foreign, fragrant trees growing on Egyptian soil for the first time. This was a massive propaganda victory and a huge economic boost. The expedition to Punt cemented Hatshepsut's image as a ruler who brought blessings and prosperity from the gods. Hatshepsut wasn't just a brilliant administrator. She was one of the most prolific builders in Egyptian history. Her architectural legacy is simply breathtaking. She undertook massive expansion projects at Karnak Temple, the religious heart of the empire. There, she erected several towering obelisks, made from single pieces of red granite, quarried hundreds of miles away in Aswan, and floated down the Nile. An inscription proudly boasts about the speed of her work on two of them, claiming she had them quarried and erected in just 7 months, an incredible feat of engineering. But her crowning achievement, the masterpiece that defines her reign, is her mortuary temple at the known to the ancient Egyptians as Djeser Djeseru, or Holiest of Holies. This temple is an architectural marvel, designed by her loyal architect and close confidant, Senemet. It's unlike any other temple in Egypt. Instead of a single, massive structure, it consists of 3 terraced levels connected by long ramps built directly into the towering limestone cliffs. The design creates a stunning harmony between the man-made structure and the natural landscape. The temple's colonnades, statues, and reliefs openly celebrated her life, her divine birth, her coronation by the gods, and her great achievements like the expedition to Punt. It was a monument designed to assert her power and ensure her legacy would last for eternity. So what happened after this long, successful reign? Around 1458 BCE, Hatshepsut died, and her co-ruler Thutmose III finally became the sole pharaoh. For the first decade or so after her death, everything seemed fine. Her monuments were respected, and her name remained visible throughout Egypt. But then, late in his reign, Thutmose III began a systematic campaign to erase her from history. Workers were sent to chisel her name and image off temple walls and monuments. Her statues were smashed and buried in pits. Her cartouches were replaced with the names of her father, her husband, or Thutmose III himself. For centuries, this was interpreted as an act of personal revenge, a bitter king finally getting back at the stepmother who kept him from power for so long. But modern historians see it differently. The evidence suggests this was a political act, not a personal one. Hatshepsut's successful rule as a female king created a problem for tradition. It challenged the long-held ideological foundation of a Malonely kingship. By erasing her, Thutmose III wasn't just settling a score. He was restoring the traditional order. He was ensuring that no future royal woman could use Hatshepsut's reign as a precedent to claim the throne for herself. It was about reinforcing the stability of the dynasty and closing a chapter that didn't fit the official narrative. Ironically, the attempt to erase her is one of the reasons we know so much about her today. The smashed statues, buried in pits near her temple, were preserved from the elements and discovered by archaeologists in pristine condition. The erased inscriptions were often incomplete, allowing scholars to piece together what had been removed. History tried to silence her, but the stone itself refused to forget. In the end, Hatshepsut ruled longer and more peacefully than many of the famous warrior pharaohs. She left Egypt more stable, more prosperous, and more beautiful than she found it. She wasn't an anomaly or a placeholder. She was an effective, powerful, and legitimate king who governed through shrewd administration, diplomacy, and a deep understanding of religious and political power. Her story is a powerful reminder that history is often written by the victors, but the truth, carved in stone, can wait centuries to be retold.